Good morning. So if you have any question, doubt, or something is not clear, feel free to interrupt me during the presentation. Do you think I need the mic, or can you hear me pretty well? Okay, so no problem. Now let's see if this works. Okay. First, before we start, I wanted to make the point of why impact evaluation is important in the policy making. This is extremely important, especially in recent years when evidence-based policy making is gaining ground. Evidence-based policy making focuses on outcome and results instead of inputs. Results are extremely important for the accountability of the policy making and to guide policy decision. These are important because they allow to understand whether the policy has reached the desired objective and also to inform about future policy decisions. At the heart of evidence-based policymaking, we find two activities, which are monitoring and impact evaluation. Sometimes they are confused one another, but they are extremely different because monitoring is a continuous process. So when the intervention is ongoing, you check if actions are going in the desired direction. Impact evaluation is something different because strives to identify if the planned actions, if the intervention has reached the desired objective, so has had an impact on the outcomes that were intended to be affected. This is crucial in the current policy making process because accountability of policymaker is becoming extremely important. So as I said before, the monitoring is a continuous process with which you track what is happening within a program. Usually it is based on admin data and which are used to construct indicators that measure the policy effect. And it's also an instrument that allows to make changes to the actions if you are not going in the desired direction and you are not reaching your goals. Evaluation are periodic assessment of planned, ongoing, and completed program, and they answer to specific questions. Within evaluation, because we have, I'm not going into the details of the classification of evaluations today, but you have ex ante evaluation in which you before the implementation of your program, you try to identify which could be the best policy mix and the best policy option and what are the expected results. So these are usually done using cost-benefit analysis or other type of impact assessment analysis. Then you might have evaluation which are carried out ex post, and within ex post evaluation you have several approaches that might be adopted. Some of them are qualitative and other are quantitative. You have theory-based approach in which you try to build the theory of change and which is based on the intervention logic and it's more theoretical. Then you might have other qualitative approach, and you also have a quantitative approach. Within these approaches, you find impact evaluation, which aims to assess a specific cause and effect question. So the main question to which impact evaluation analysis answer is what is the causal effect of the program on the outcome of interest. So you see the keyword in this question is causal effect. Impact evaluation informs on whether a program has reached the desired objectives. So it deals with the effectiveness of the program. And for instance, it will look on whether the policy action have determined some changes on the well-being of individuals or the performance of firms, the performance of students, and so on. At the basis of impact evaluation analysis, there is a causal relationship between policy and the outcome of interest. So what is causality? Causality is the ultimate goal of impact evaluation. And all impact evaluation analysis, all impact evaluation methods address some cause and effect question. For instance, does teacher training improve students' test score? Or do conditional cash transfers to regions improve regional development? Do vocational training programs improve work-related outcomes of individuals? So there should be a cause and an effect, which are related by the policy action you are evaluating. But how can you identify the causal effect? As we will see in a while, this is not straightforward because causal effects can only be retrieved if you estimate the so-called counterfactual. The basic counterfactual question is, what would have happened to program participants had they not participated in the program? So at the basis of all impact evaluation methods, there is the identification of a proper comparison group, which is identical in all respect with the treatment group, so with those that are participating in the program, that are receiving the policy, except for the program participation. So the two groups, the identification of this perfect control group is at the basis of all counterfactual impact evaluation methods. And you will see that all the methods differ one another in the way they find something to exploit to identify this control group. The control group we said should be similar in all respects, so should be statistically identical to the control to the treatment group, except for the policy participation, because we need to rule out the possibility that there are other factors, other confounding factors that might determine the outcome in addition to our treatment, to the treatment we want to identify. So first of all, when discussing about causality, we need to distinguish between causation and correlation. This is a very simple graph in which we show with the blue line ice cream sales over the months. On the x-axis you have the months of the year, and the red line, which is shark attacks. So you see that both have a spike in July, August. Does this mean that there is a causal link between the two? Yeah, this is oops. the two phenomena are highly correlated one another, but we see a spike in both because during summer, people go to swim, and so they are more exposed to shark attacks, but it's also hot and sunny, so they also eat a lot of ice creams. They are caused by good weather and sunny time, but they are not related one another by a causal link. So let's see what the counterfactual is. I will not go into the details of potential outcome and very more complicated analytical framework, but let's look only to this simple formula. In which you have a delta, which is our causal impact. Then we indicate with Y the outcome of interest. And we consider P is our program participation. So you see that the causal impact is given by the difference between the outcome for program participants and the outcome for those that were not participating in the program. Which is the problem? In this setting, while we are able to observe which is the performance of individuals that have enrolled and have participated in a program, which is this first term, we are not able to observe the same individuals in their other status, which is not having participated in the program, because either they participate or they not. Estimating this second term is our counterfactual problem. This is our counterfactual. Solving the counterfactual problem would be easier if the evaluator could find the perfect clone, the perfect clone. So here the presentation refers to the handbook you have received as the preparation for the material for the preparation for the training course. And you have a beneficiary and its clone. The beneficiary gets 6 candies and participates into the program. Whereas the clone, which has not participated in the program, obtains 4 candies. In this case, the causal impact of the program participation would be easier to identify, because you will have the difference between the outcome in one status and the other. So 6 minus 4, so the impact is 2 candies. However, in the reality, we are not able to have, we don't have a perfect clone. So, and this is the issue, the problem of estimating the counterfactual. When estimating the counterfactual, we need to generate 2 groups of units, which are statistically indistinguishable from one another at the group level. So given a treatment group, you should find a control group or comparison group that is on average statistically identical to the treatment group, but for having participated in the program. So the counterfactual outcome would be this Y, given that P is equal to 0, would be the outcome that we observe in this control group. And the challenge for any counterfactual problem is to identify a proper control group. If the 2 groups differ also for other observable or unobservable characteristics, then the results you obtain by taking the difference between the 2 outcomes will be biased. Okay, so to better understand what is the counterfactual, Let's look to an example. So let's consider the evaluation of a subsidy program which supports investment in innovative agriculture to foster farmers' income. In this graph, you have time on the x-axis and quantity, so the harvest on the y-axis. The program is implemented at year 1, after year 0. So in year 0, so before this program to support innovative agriculture starts, harvest for the farmers was of 1,000 kilo. 1 year after the implementation, the harvest becomes 1,100 kilos, so 1,100. So which is point A. We started from point B. We got to point A after the program implementation. If we think that the counterfactual is simply given by the difference between these two, and so that B is a good counterfactual for A, the difference will be 100, and we might mistakenly consider this delta as the causal impact of the program. However, let's look more in detail to what could have happened. Let's imagine that rainfalls were normal before the implementation of the program, so in year 0, but then a drought occurred in the year after. In this case, without our program to support agriculture, the harvest of agriculture would have been, the harvest of farmers would have been D instead of B. So in this case, the impact of the program, given that after the program implementation we get A, and without the program we would have get D, the impact is larger than the one we are considering by taking the simple difference between A and B. Relatedly, if we had instead increasing rainfalls after the program implementation, and without any support to farmers, the harvest would have been C. Considering A minus B as the impact is overestimating the true impact of the program, which is instead given by A minus C. So as a takeaway message, unless our impact analysis can account for all the factors that can affect the outcome over time, in addition to our treatment, we are not able to calculate the true impact, the impact of our program by taking a simple difference. Let's consider another example. Do you have any question? We have a vocational training program for youth unemployed. And if we estimate, there are some youth unemployed that decide to participate into the program, to enroll into the vocational training program, and some other who do not. If we estimate the impact by taking the difference between the income after program participation of those who participate and comparing these results with the income of those that do not participate, are we estimating the causal impact? Are we considering a good control group in our counterfactual analysis? The answer is no, as you see in the slide, because the two groups are likely to be different one another, because those that the individuals that decide to participate in the program might be those that are better motivated and that would have obtained a better performance on the labor market even without the program participation. Whereas those who choose not to participate in the program might be the more discouraged unemployed that do not expect to obtain any gain from the training. So the two groups would have performed differently in the labor market anyway, even without the participation. In this case, we say that comparing those that the outcome of those that participate in the program with those that choose not to participate is misleading, because there is selection bias, as individuals decide either to participate or to not enroll in the program. And they might differ for some unobservable characteristics related to motivation or to propensity to work and to do additional training, which is correlated with their outcome. So in this case, how could you choose the right evaluation method? There is not a perfect recipe that you can apply and say, oh, okay, in this case I must use this, or it's not a specific, it's a specific choice, because it depends on the features of the program you are evaluating, and the resources you have, the data, and the timing of the implementation. Data is a crucial aspect. I have also prepared some videos to share, which make things easier and allows us to preserve time for later, on the importance of having a proper data collection phase in each evaluation study, because sometimes you plan evaluation in advance, and you can also plan data collection. In this case, you might have the best setting for your evaluation analysis, because you are able, for instance, to store information for rejected applicants, or the evaluation of the projects, and so on. In other cases, you decide to carry out the evaluation only at the end of the program, so when the intervention is not in place. And so you have to, for your analysis, you have to rely on on the data that are available. That sometimes might be not enough, because, for instance, you are evaluating something which is at the individual level, and then you have only data at the regional level. So it might be difficult for your analysis to identify the impact on individuals. However, in the most recent years, there is a lot of attention in highlighting the importance to resort to administrative data, because administrative data, for instance, tax registry data, health registry, unemployment registry are comprehensive information on each individual, which are already there and maybe only need to be harmonized and anonymized by the statistical offices, but are a great resource to exploit for the impact evaluation analysis. And this is something that has been underestimated in the past. And only in some countries, for instance, in the Netherlands, you have I don't know if you have dealt with the CBS data, which are provided by the National Statistical Office from the Netherlands. It's upon subscription, so you have to pay, but they have merged information on individuals relating multiple dimensions, so from crime records to tax to health, and you are able to identify all the characteristics that each individual has. And in this case, you have a lot of information to carry out your evaluation analysis. This is something that other countries are also carrying out, for instance, France or Denmark, the UK, but in other countries, for instance, in Italy, this is still a bit behind because you don't have access to this information. The information is there in every country, but sometimes access is not granted. Okay, so before. If you have any question, feel free to ask. Let's start from admin data. These are very short video.
Is in the data at the individual level, the so-called microdata. School administration has a record on all students, including their standardized test score for college admission, which is a measure of their talent, and of the fact that they received the scholarship or not. This can help to distinguish whether talent or scholarships was the driver of the observed surge in people completing college. Where can one find microdata? These can come from surveys, which are expensive and do not cover all individuals, or from administrative sources, like the agency in charge of the program. Since admin data was already collected for other purposes than research, it is usually free and covers more individuals. Other public admin sources, such as tax agencies or social security institutes, hold microdata that could be used to evaluate regulations. The anonymized data would be used for research to ensure people's privacy, and only the variables of interest would be observed. Administrative data can teach us what worked and for whom, and therefore help to improve the design of future policies. For more information, visit the JRC website on microeconomic evaluation.
Any question? the last.
The European Union funds projects and initiatives and sets common rules for the internal market. Appropriate data is needed to evaluate the impact of these actions. Data for evaluation should be relevant to the desired objective or outcome, the intervention logic, such as how the action is expected to impact the outcome, and the evaluation criteria, such as effectiveness or efficiency. Let's look at an example in EU policy, the school fruit and vegetable scheme, which promotes healthy eating habits. One possible outcome of the scheme could be improved body mass index or BMI. This is a measurable indicator directly related to the policy objective. It is fundamental to measure the BMI of children from both schools taking part in the scheme and those not taking part, as they offer a comparison group. Other important data to collect concerns the amount of fruit and vegetables provided to each child. Data about other contextual factors that may influence BMI must also be considered, such as other policy interventions or facts on eating habits and exercise routines. Reusing data from several administrative sources, like school or population registries, and from implementing the program, dramatically reduces costs when collecting data for evaluation. If this is not feasible, part of the data could be collected through surveys. Planning is important, and data from different sources should be linked so that the final data set contains all the relevant information. The Competence Center of Microeconomic Evaluation, or CCME, supports data-driven evaluation.
So this is a recap of what we said. And it might seem a very silly issue, the one of data, but this is the most recurrent one, because often when if you think to state aid intervention and also all these COVID aid that were delivered during COVID to firms and to individuals, the data collection issue is something that is recurring because there is not a legal requirement that obliges member states and government to collect data. So they often consider this a minor point in the implementation of the regulation, and this then determines a big problem, represents a big problem in the second phase when you have to assess the impact of the program. Now, let's look more, let's start to consider the methods. The gold standard of counterfactual impact evaluation is randomization. All of you have heard about randomized experiments, which were initially more largely used in the medical trials. So during COVID, we heard about the testing of vaccines, in which you have a treatment group that receives the drug or the vaccine, so which is medically treated, and a control group that is receiving placebo. So when you deal with counterfactual impact evaluation, also in economics or in social problems, you should think always to these medical trials in which you have treatment and placebo. So the gold standard is randomization. We have random assignment when the participation into a program is is assigned randomly over a large population. So randomization exploits a random process to decide who among those eligible is granted access to the program and who is not. in this way, we guarantee that each eligible unit has the same probability of accessing the treatment by a program. So if you have a large sample of units, by definition, randomizing the treatment, you will end up with two groups, the treatment and the comparison group, that have a high probability of being statistically identical. So they have the same characteristics on average. And with random assignment, you have two groups that have statistically equivalent averages for all their characteristics. Let's consider an example again. So let's consider an intervention of tax exemption for households for renovation works. Suppose you have a very large city of about 10,000 eligible households. So this is an example. So you imagine you have a bowl with all the name of the households on some paper, and then you drawn out of the bowl two groups of 5,000 eligible units. So in this is the easiest random way. When you carry out a proper random experiment, you have very sophisticated statistical methods to identify the treatment and control group and to stratify characteristics within each group to make them statistically equivalent on average. So in this way, if among your 10,000 households you have 40% of couples and 20% of households that live in a very old house, because of randomization, you will end up with two groups in which this structure is kept. So you will have a control group that has 20%, 40% of couples and 20% of people that live in an old house, and the same is for the control for the treatment group. What are we saying? That random assignment ensures that the two groups have the same characteristics, both for what concern observable and unobservable. This means that if we think to the example of the youth unemployed that have to participate in a vocational training program, with randomization, you are making the two groups identical for what you observe. For instance, age is something that is observable, but also for the things that you do not observe. For instance, motivation, which is unmeasurable and unobservable. So by construction, randomization eliminates the selection bias. Yeah, this is something we will discuss in a while, because this is called non-compliance. And we will discuss it when we talk about instrumental variable. So.
Any examples? Because in policy, at least, or I couldn't think of any example where they assigned randomly with
Yeah, there are actually there are programs that have random assignment, which are carried out as random experiment. For instance, and then there are the papers summarizing, scientific papers summarizing the studies. For instance, there are some studies carried out, especially in the least developed countries, relating to water access or to property rights. So there is a paper on the regarding the training of judges to grant property rights carried out. I can't remember the country. But there are many, and some of them are also carried out by the World Bank. So these are called randomized control trials.
Famous policy implemented as RCTs, the Mexican insurance, health insurance.
Yeah.
Was designed by Gary King, by famous paper.
Yeah, it's.
And then it was the government who asked him to come to design the thing. Was a big problem with politicians.
Yeah.
But there is a nice paper on it.
So these are always programs that are designed as experiments.
Yeah.
Not actual policy.
Yeah, actually, these are policies. For instance, the one on the health insurance or the training of judges. These are policies, but which are designed as random experiments. However, in some other cases, because randomization is often unethical and could not be implemented, for instance, for giving money, I randomized cohesion funds. This is not possible. They randomize the promotion of the treatment. We will look to this in a while as well, just after the non-compliance issue, in which you are not randomizing the treatment, but you are randomizing the treatment promotion. Regarding to this on a lower level, there is, for instance, there are some studies analyzing the effect of remote teaching. This happened before the COVID. The COVID was a natural experiment. But before the COVID, some university were exploring the possibility of giving remote teaching, remote lectures to students. And in that case, they randomized, since they could not randomize the treatment, they could not decide you go in person and you stay at home. They randomized the promotion of the treatment. So some students received an email from the university informing them, you know, there is the possibility to follow the lecture from home. Would you like to, do you enjoy it? Would you like to try? And other students that do not. In this case, you have randomness in the treatment, but without excluding students from following in-person lectures. Or in some other cases, randomization is used to test sanction or deterrence actions. For instance, I went to a seminar of a paper in which it was presented a paper about illegal streaming, illegal online streaming. And there were some people receiving an alert, which was assigned randomly, telling them, you know, this is illegal and you are violating the property right law, and some others do not. And then they tested, they estimated the impact of receiving this alert. Okay, so under randomization, estimating the impact of a program is easy because here you have the treatment and the comparison group. Then you have the outcome for the treatment group, which is 100. And you have the outcome for the comparison group, which is 80. Since, by definition, these two groups are identical in all respect except for the treatment, because by construction we have randomized the assignment to the treatment, the impact will be given by the difference in the outcome. So the impact will be 20. However, and to assess the validity of a randomization, you should see that actually the two groups are identical, and you might conduct a balancing test to see if for the observable characteristics you have, for instance, 40% of people aged 25, 20% of unemployed, and 30% of people having a degree, and so on. Then you have to check if there is perfect compliance. So if all those that were assigned to the treatment actually enrolled and participated, and all those that were assigned to the comparison group actually did not participate. For carrying out this type of study, you need a large population, and also you need a lot of money, because randomized control trials are costly and sometimes are unethical. For this reason, the natural experiment are a good alternative to randomization, because with natural experiment you exploit some characteristics, some features of the policy that mimic a randomized experiment. This varies on the basis of the characteristics of the intervention you are evaluating, and there are several empirical strategies that might allow to estimate the causal impact with natural experiment. Instrumental variables, regression discontinuity design, difference in differences, and matching. We will look to these three. Let's start considering instrumental variables. When we discussed about randomization, we were assuming perfect compliance. However, this rarely happens in reality, because some potential participants might decide to not participate in the program because they are no longer interested, they are sick, they are busy, and so on. And some others might be so motivated that manage to participate in the program anyway. To deal with these cases of imperfect compliance, we resort to instrumental variables, or IVU. So let's start with the definition. The IVU methods exploit an event outside the control of the individual that influences the probability of getting the treatment, but it is not associated with their characteristics. This is applied when you have imperfect compliance, or when the program targets the full population, the entire population at once. In this case, you use randomized assignment as an instrumental variable. So in particular, we will look at the instrumental variable approach by considering random assignment as an instrument. Before we look into the details of this method, let's discuss the different type of impact estimates we might have according to the level of compliance. So we should distinguish between the average treatment effect, which is what you estimate when you have full compliance. In the absence of full compliance, you might estimate the intention to treat, which is ITT, is when some work units have been assigned to the treatment, but when you can estimate intention to treat when you have perfect compliance on the side of the treatment group. So when those that were assigned to the treatment, all those that were assigned to the treatment participate. And in this case, you estimate the impact of offering the program. Then, in the absence of full compliance, you could also be estimating the average treatment effect on the treated. That is when those that were offered the program participate. Let's consider an example. So consider a teacher training program in which you have 2,000 teachers eligible, and of which 1,000 were randomly assigned to the treatment group, and the remaining 1,000 is randomly assigned to the control group. If all the teachers that were assigned to each group to the treatment group receive the training, and those that were assigned to the control group do not, we are estimating the average treatment effect. However, if some of the teachers that were assigned to the treatment group the day of the training do not show up, and so you are not the effect of the program on the entire population, but you can estimate the effect of the program on the population, on the subpopulation of those teachers that were assigned to the treatment and participated in the program. Then you are estimating the average treatment effect on the treated. However, it could happen that also that some of the teachers that were assigned to the control group manage to get enrolled and to participate to the program. In this case, we cannot estimate neither the impact for the entire population nor for the subgroup of the treated, because those that were in the control group and managed to participate are the most motivated controls, which serve as the counterfactual for the most motivated treated. Without them, we cannot calculate the impact of the training for the most motivated segment of the treatment group, because we don't have the counterfactual, the respective counterfactual in the control group. So what we can do in this case? A first option is to estimate the impact as the difference in the outcomes between those teachers assigned to the program and those that are not assigned. So the impact of having the program offered, which is the intention to treat. So, however, this is a relevant measure of the impact only if we have perfect compliance on the treatment side. So if the imperfect compliance comes from the comparison group. But if we have non-compliance, both in the treated and in the controls, this is not meaningful. Let's add some terminology. So the compliers, it's easy. Compliers are those that participate, that respect the treatment rules. So are those that participate in the treatment if they are in the treatment group, and do not participate in the treatment if they are in the control group. Then we have the never takers. So these are those that do not enroll even when they are assigned in the treatment group, and are a form of non-compliance. Then we also have the always takers, which are those that manage somehow to participate in the program, and even when they are in the control group. And this is the other form of non-compliance. So we have the compliers, and we have two forms of non-compliers, the always takers and the never takers. So let's look at the second option. The second option is to estimate the local average treatment effect that we call late, which represents the effect of the program for the subgroup of the compliers. So in our example, the local average treatment effect is the effect for the teachers in the treatment group that enrolled, and the effect for those teachers that would have enrolled if they were assigned to the do not enroll if they were assigned to the control group. We could estimate late when there is non-compliance in the treatment group, in the control group, or in both. And the average treatment effect on the treated corresponds to the local average treatment effect when there is non-compliance only in the treatment group. Okay. Now, let's see how to estimate the impact under randomized assignment, which is what I was discussing with you, with imperfect compliance. Okay, so under when there is randomization of the assignment with imperfect compliance, the impact of the program is given by the compliers group. So in this case, we are estimating the local average treatment effect. So the effect, the causal impact on the compliers. However, in the treatment group, we might have the never takers. So those that in the treatment group we might have, and we are able to identify the never takers. So those that were assigned to the treatment and do not participate. But we are not able to distinguish those that are always takers. We are not able to distinguish the always takers from the compliers because they are participating. In the control group, we are able to identify the always takers because they are assigned to the control group and they participate. But we are not able to distinguish the compliers in the control group from the never takers. So let's see how under randomized assignment we could estimate the causal impact. So we have two groups, a group assigned to the treatment and a group which is not assigned to the treatment. In each group, you see, we observe the three types of compliance. So we have the compliers, which in the treatment group are those that enroll if assigned. In the control group are those that enroll if assigned. Then we have the never takers, and then we have the always takers, so those that enroll anyway. This is a form of non-compliance, and this is a form of non-compliance. When estimating for each sample, we know the percentage of compliers, because in the case of the treatment group, we can look at the share of those that enrolled, which is 90%. And we observe the outcome Y for those that were assigned to the treatment, which is 110. In the control group, we are able to identify those that managed to enroll, which is which are the always takers, which is 10%. So if from the enrolled year we keep out those that come from non-compliance in control group, we obtain the share of the enrolled, which is 80%. So it's given by 90% minus 10%. The intention to treat effect is simply given, will be simply given by the difference in the outcome, which is 40. If we want to estimate the local average treatment effect, which is given by the effect on the compliers, we should keep the share of the compliers, which is 80%, and apply this percentage to the intention to treat. So the local average treatment effect would be 50. Okay.
Organization would be social variables. The idea of instrumental variables that the instrumental variable will only affect the outcome through treatment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Organization would be not that outcome through the treatment.
In this case, the instrumental variable is randomized promotion.
Okay.
We will see the example in a way. So the instrument is the promotion of the treatment. Because if you can randomize the treatment, you randomize the promotion, and then the promotion is considered as an instrumental variable. Okay.
That's
Yeah. Okay. So for instance, you receive an invitation letter. So the treatment is for everyone. So everyone could apply to this training course. But you received an invitation letter and she didn't. In this case, the promotion of the training school is randomized, and this is the instrument, and is considered as an IVO. Okay. So referring to the previous example, 90% of those that were assigned to the treatment actually enrolled, which are these, but 10% are the never takers, which is this. Among the control, 10%, which is this one, enrolled, so it's an always taker. If we consider the share of non-compliers, which are 10 plus 10 is 20, so we take this off from 100 and we obtain the share of the compliers, which is 80%. The ITT is the difference in the outcomes between those assigned and those that are not assigned. So the impact of being offered the treatment, and is 40 euros. If we apply the share of the compliers to these 40 euros, we obtain the impact on the compliers, which is the local average treatment effect, and is 50 euros. How randomization relates to instrumental variable? It's at 11:30 the break, right? Okay, so we are on time. Under imperfect compliance, so when we have never takers and always taker, randomization is a powerful tool to conduct counterfactual impact evaluation, as it allows to rule out the selection bias. Considering a large group of compliers, it is useful to be a predictor of the actual enrollment in the program, and it produces two groups in which the individual characteristics are not correlated with motivation and other observables that may affect the outcome. So randomization is an instrumental variable. To be a good instrument, the instrumental variable needs to satisfy two conditions. The first one is exogeneity. So this should not be correlated with individual characteristics, and the randomization is not correlated with individual characteristics, and should be relevant. So should actually influence the participation to the program. So randomized promotion is an instrumental variable method that randomly assigns promotion to the treatment among a large group of participants. This is useful to evaluate programs that have universal eligibility, or in which the enrollment is open, or in which administrators cannot control who participates and who does not. So let's consider a job training program and its effect on individual wages. Suppose that this program affects all unemployed that live in a town A, so they are all eligible, and the job training program is managed by an agency. So the agency hires an agent that go around the town and encourages participation into the program for a randomly selected sample of eligible people. So the program affects everyone, the universe of population, but only a subgroup, which is randomly identified, receives the visit of this promoting agent. This means that also those unemployed that did not receive the visit from the agent could enroll because they are eligible. So we identify a group that has been randomly assigned by the visit of the promoter, and another group that has not been randomly assigned to the visit. How can we evaluate the program? Can we compare the wages of the unemployed that enroll with the unemployed that do not enroll? No, because there might be selection bias. So those that enroll and those that do not enroll might have a different motivation. But we can compare the outcomes, so the wages of the unemployed that receive the visit with those that do not receive the visit. Because the promoted and not promoted group were randomly chosen, and so they both contain the same proportion of persons of always takers who would have enrolled anyway, or never takers that never enroll, and also the same percentage of the compliers. So in this way, we are estimating the local average treatment effect. And in this case, the compliers are those that enroll if encouraged, and they do not enroll if not encouraged. For the randomized promotion to work as an instrumental variable, we need two conditions. First, the promotion needs to increase the enrollment probability, so it should be relevant, and the promotion should not influence the final outcome, so should be exogenous. Let's look at the checklist. So those that were promoted, those that received the promotion campaign are statistically similar to those that do not. So you should run a balancing test. Then does the promotion campaign affect the take-up of the program? So it should, because this is important for the relevance of the instrument. And then does the promotion campaign affect the outcomes? And it should not, because the instrument should be exogenous. Okay, we can have the break. Unless you have question on this. No. Sorry, I didn't get it. Yeah, you randomize the promotion to the treatment.
Promotion, like in general, and problems. Promote the participation.
Yeah, if also the promotion is, let's say, universal, then you have the same issue that you had with non-compliance. But this is, let's say, this is a trick to mimic a randomized experiment using a natural experiment. But instead of exploiting a feature of your intervention, you are building the randomization yourself by randomizing the promotion. So you are the policymaker, and you say you decide you could not evaluate, I don't know, you could not randomize access to a grant for unemployed. But you want to assess if this grant is effective in, I don't know, suppose this is a grant for long life learning. You want to see if this grant is effective in boosting their competencies and capabilities on the labor market later on. Since you cannot exclude anyone because your intervention will be unethical, no one would approve it. You could decide to randomize the promotion. So you can send an email, send a letter, send an agent, so encourage participation into the treatment. In this way, you are able to construct two random samples of treated and controls, and you are your experiment mimics a random assignment, but you are randomizing the promotion. Which is the difference? With the random assignment, you obtain an estimate of the average treatment effect. With the randomized promotion, you obtain an estimate of the local average treatment effect, because randomness in your experiment is given by the randomized promotion. So the gold standard is randomization, which is costly, unethical, unfeasible sometimes. Now we are opening the box of natural experiment that somehow try to mimic randomization. First of all, we looked at randomized promotion, which is quite similar because you can send the letter, but we will see that this is not always possible. And in other cases, you have to exploit different features of your intervention to set up your quasi-natural experiment.
is alerting
Yeah.
users of online illegal stream platforms.
Mhm.
So what was, remember if you happen to know what was the conclusion of the research conducted?
I think that they got a positive impact. So they, I don't know if the paper has been published now because this was a seminar that I attended, I think 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, before the pandemic. So it's quite a lot. It's the previous life. And they conducted it in the UK, and I think they got a positive effect because there was a deterrence effect of this alert. Yeah. But there was something that I could not remember related to the replication. Maybe when they were kept receiving this, then it was no longer effective, something like that. Maybe adaptation to the, yeah, but it's interesting. And there are nice studies using randomized promotion. Yeah, but usually are related to these aspects too.
Possibly have the intention to evaluate the program before they start it.
Yeah.
And also they need to have the time.
And in most of the in most of the cases, the policymaker is feels that evaluation is a threat because they do not consider evaluation as an informing tool, but something that is judging their activity, and that might also undermine accountability and re-election. So they only want to have a positive results of the evaluation. So they want that to see that the policy was effective and boosted growth and whatever. And this is the main issue. And but the European Commission, I'm talking about the European Commission because this is the institution that I know better, and I know also the effort they were putting in trying to support and to introduce evaluation as a legal requirement. So they were asking to have a monitoring and evaluation section in all the new legislative proposal, and then there are some intervention, for instance, those in the labor market that were resorting to counterfactual impact evaluation since decades now. Because experiments on active labor market policies are easy to implement, especially resorting to the matching procedures and so on. But also the competition policies are consider impact evaluation important. So if you look at the state aid approved in your country, you see that there are requirements on evaluation and evaluation report that member states have to submit to the Commission. Also, they are also intermediate reports, so they submit evaluation when the intervention is ongoing, and also a final report that that includes the full evaluation of the program of the state aid. And they require also an evaluation plan that has to be submitted already in the phase of approval of the state aid, because state aid could not be delivered without a proper authorization from the European Commission, because they might alter competition on the market. But when there are certain conditions that are called exemption, they could be delivered and they could be approved. And one of the phases of this approval process is the submission of an evaluation plan, which is very detailed and should propose specific evaluation question regarding direct, indirect, and wider economy effects. So the intended effects of your intervention, but also those that you are not considering and are as a side effect. The data you want to use, the method, and how you will collect the data. But when you think about data, you should think about data granularity, so individual, region, provincial level, data firm level, plant level, which data do you have? The time, so you want yearly, quarterly, daily information, and which are the risks, how you will collect this data, is it costly, do you have access, who is conducting the evaluation? So it's a lot of information, and this is improving a bit the process, even if in my experience, often you see that the evaluators simply state, I was supposed to have daily on in mission, but in the end, I could not manage to have access to this data. So I'm simply proposing a survey in which I propose an interview to 5 relevant stakeholders. And so evaluation rely on interviews, which are completely distorted. But this is the story.